Today, I'm going to tell you about my production setup, camera, editing software, tools that I've bought, things that I bought that I've never used, to give you an idea of what happens on the back end of these videos and how I've created my online education video content and the videos of Coffee with Dr. A. This week, I had the opportunity to present my work at CTAIL, Session 7 specifically. Thank you, CTAIL, for hosting me, where we discussed the transition to online education, and I've received a lot of inquiries over the past couple of weeks as well on what does my setup look like and what advice do I have for educators. Today's focus is solely on the production setup. In the future, I plan to have an episode on how to design my courses and the classroom curriculum design. So make sure to subscribe, like, so you get the notifications when that video is available. All right, let's start with video, the most important part. If you have a smartphone, you already have the technology necessary to create great video content. I decided to move away from the iPhone and I picked a dedicated camera to shoot my video content. I am using the Sony a6600. So let me show you what the a6600 looks like. Not sure if you see a difference between the a6600 and the iPhone shots that I just showed you. So you don't need to buy a new camera. I bought the a6600 because one, I wanted a dedicated camera, and two, I wanted a new camera for my still photography. That's really all it is. Next, let's talk about audio. And boy, have I made mistakes with audio. It's probably the toughest thing to get right. My main go-to is a Rode lavalier wireless microphone. I love it, but I also use a Rode overhead mounted camera microphone. I switch between both of them depending on what I'm shooting. Both of them have pros and cons, and let's talk about that. The overhead mounted Rode is easy to use. It's easy to get started and easy to set up. And if you're shooting scenes with a lot of movement, it should be your go-to. The lavalier is better audio quality, at least from my experience. The issue with the lavalier, though, is because it's a wireless microphone, there's a lot of moving parts. You got to make sure everything's on and synced and working, which I don't do often. And I've had to reshoot videos because my audio was not working because I forgot to turn one part of the microphone on. So that's the only downfall that I have with the lavalier, is you need to make sure it's working right. The other problem that you need to keep in mind with audio, especially if you're switching between audios, is to maintain the audio settings in your camera and in your microphones. I had one episode of Coffee with Dr. A where I did not adjust my settings when I switched between microphones, and the video quality was not the best. Space and backdrop. If you've been watching this, you've seen that I've used many different backdrops. Couches, standing, sitting. Things that you probably didn't see is I had boxes. I was standing on boxes, camera on boxes. I even bought a green screen. In hindsight, I didn't need the green screen. I haven't used it. So if you want a green screen, leave a comment, reach out to me. It's yours. My family would appreciate having their space back. Speaking of space, your space is important, and it's going to impact two things. First, it's going to impact your lighting, which we'll get to in more detail later on. Two, and specific to this discussion, it's going to impact your audio. I have produced the majority of my video here in Oman, so I'm not in my typical office space. That means I can't make major adjustments. My space here in Oman is beautiful. They have marble floors, high ceilings, beautiful windows. However, all these things make it more difficult to shoot good quality audio. So if you have a place that has carpet, pillows, soft surfaces. It's important because it's going to give you better acoustic and minimize echo. Lighting, the next important thing to talk about. I bought 2 LED lights with stands. They're great, they're fantastic, I love them. I use them in low lighting scenes. Be sure to purchase lights with dimmers so you can adjust the light intensity. My advice to you, if you're using a green screen, is to, or anything that you need lit up behind you, is to buy 3 lights, 2 to light you from both sides and 1 to light your background. For me, lighting, the best setup that I found, mainly because I'm in this space with a lot of windows, is to use natural light. So right now, everything that you see is naturally lit. There's no lighting that I'm using. So if you have great windows, you might be able to get away without having to purchase any lights. It is one of the perks of being here in Oman during the sunny summers, so I'm gonna enjoy it while I can. Once you have all your content shot and audio recorded, you will need editing software. There's a lot of editing software out there. Your institution might have access to free software, so make sure to reach out to them. Inquire about that before you go purchasing new software. What I like to use, because it's very flexible and allows me to use animation and sound effects and edit more flexibly, is Final Cut Pro. It's also because I have a Mac. Final Cut Pro is Mac specific. If you are on a PC, you might want to look at Adobe Premiere. One thing that while looking at creating online content, the advice that I wish I had before I got started was external drives. Video content requires a lot of space, and if you're editing and adding animation and overlaying audio, you're gonna run out of space really quickly. So I'm using a 4 terabyte external hard drive, and I'm 3 months into this process, and I'm pretty much a quarter of the way filling up that 4 terabyte. Video editing takes up a lot of space. The other thing that has been a challenge for me is internet access. So as I mentioned, I'm in Oman, specifically Qantab, which is a beautiful place. It's a small fisherman village right outside of Muscat. But with all the beauty that I have access to, there are some limitations. One of the limitations is internet access and stability. I don't have great upload speed. My download speed is fine. Upload speed is challenged. I'm using ADSL, so that's an issue. And if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen some of my frustrated tweets. A 5-minute video to upload onto YouTube could take up to 2 hours. So I've had to be a little bit resourceful using hotspots. It's a good reminder for us to keep in mind with our students. Some of our students will have internet challenges. So if I'm experiencing it, I know others will be, so keep that in mind. The other question that I get is, why are you uploading content onto YouTube? I decided to upload onto YouTube for several reasons. First, I want to make these videos accessible to students and other faculty members that might find them useful. But uploading it on YouTube has its own pressures. Other people are looking at it, they're critiquing it. You're taking what you usually do in the classroom, and now others have the chance to evaluate it. So if you're not comfortable with that, you could still upload onto YouTube. Just make sure that your link is unlisted, and this way you could share it with your students and your students would have access to it. Or you could upload the video directly to your learning management system. The issue that I have there is learning management systems are clunky when it comes to video, and YouTube's figured out video, so let me just outsource it to them. The other perk about uploading your videos onto YouTube is the closed captioning is pretty straightforward with YouTube. I've had to go in and adjust a couple of things here and there, but it's really great service that they have. But more importantly, you're able to translate your videos into other languages, and this increases the accessibility of your video to others. As I'm aware, YouTube's able to translate up to 165 different languages. So it's another perk, something to keep in mind. I get a lot of questions about cost of this setup, and it is costly. What I've done is I've included a link below. to break down all the costs of the production setup that I have. Also, I've included a link to my discussion with CTAIL that happened this week, so you could have an idea of what I'm doing and other educators are doing with their online education transition. In the future, I plan on creating a video to discuss my curriculum design and learning management setup for principal level courses specifically. I know a lot of people are interested in what's happening on that end. I'll discuss things like assessment, how to incentivize student engagement, and also how to retain students in an online environment. I hope you found this video helpful. Over the past 3 months, I've experimented with different setups. I've learned a lot of things. Some things work and some things are horrible. So if you have any questions or you want to talk through your setup, please reach out. I would love to assist. I'd love to be a resource to you. If you found anything in this discussion helpful, please leave a comment, tell me what it is, share it with other educators. We're all going through a challenge with this transition, so the more that we could provide for others, the better. If you're curious about other things, please reach out, like, subscribe, tell me something that you learned from this video so I know that it was helpful.